Hello, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and welcome to Mooc BSR360 Practical Training. In this particular Mooc, we will be discussing module number 2 on scope of services in practical training, and specifically in the topic of 2.1 core competencies relevant to building surveying. And I am here today. My name is Surveyor Technologist Muhammad Karul Amir Ramli. Will be sharing to you all the details with regard to this particular topic. Before we understand further on the scope of services of a building surveyor in practical training sector, let's first understand and recap ourselves. What is exactly a building surveyor do in the real world? With that, please enjoy the video of this following.
Kerjaya sebagai juru ukur mungkin dilihat kurang popular, namun di setiap negara membangun, sektor pembinaan yang melibatkan profesion berkenaan dilihat agak ketara.
Wartawan Siti Nazmimi Aisyah Amran ada laporannya.
Sektor pembinaan adalah merupakan antara sektor ketiga terbesar di negara kita, sekaligus membuka peluang pekerjaan kepada graduasi juru ukur. Walaupun terdapat pelbagai tawaran pekerjaan, namun juru ukur ini tidak begitu menonjol. Kurangnya pendedahan dilihat sebagai punca pelajar tidak berminat melanjutkan pengajian dalam bidang berkenaan, malah kerja-kerja mengukur dilihat sebagai tidak profesional, sehingga kan ada di antara mereka tidak mengetahui kewujudan program itu di IPTA ataupun IPTS.
Kita orang memang akan dapat banyak pengalaman lah kan. Dan sebelum ni kita orang tak tahu langsung pasal apa pasal surveying ni.
Dan juga kita dapat mempromosikan bidang juru ukur kepada semua sekolah di seluruh Malaysia, yang mana di Malaysia ini kita mempunyai 4 profession juru ukur, iaitu juru ukur tanah dan geometrik, juru ukur bahan, juru ukur bangunan dan juga juru ukur hartanah.
Mereka ditemui selepas majlis penyampaian hadiah pertandingan RISM yang Achievers Award YAA di Atmosphere 360 Menara Kuala Lumpur siang tadi. YAA yang berkonsepkan Smart Green Home menerima sebanyak 25 penyertaan dari seluruh negara, namun hanya 5 buah sekolah dipilih menjadi pemenang dan menerima hadiah berupa wang tunai. Laporan Siti Nazmimi Aisyah Amran, TV3.
I hope from the video that was presented, you will more or less have the understanding of what is expected for a building surveyor when they went for their practical training. The topic learning outcome for this particular Mooc is at the end of the class, you will be able to explain the core competencies of a building surveyor and to compare the 5 core competencies of a building surveyor. In the construction industry, there are various professionals working on various projects, doing different scope of work. So, how can we differentiate between each of these professionals and what are their core competencies? Let's first understand what are professional core competencies. Professional core competencies is a list of core qualifications for specific roles or jobs, and in this case, specific roles and job for those inside the construction industry. Every professional inside the construction industry usually follows standards or practices that be specified by their respective board or their respective statutory legislation. And this professional competencies usually comprises of the standard skills of training, understanding and knowledge, learning outcome, experiences that the personnel has actually taken over time, and the ability to portray and to display their skill set, which eventually become part of their growth career process. Similarly to other construction professionals, building surveyors are also need to abide and comply to their board or practices, guidelines, and legal statutories that are being set for them to practice. In general, there are 2 professional bodies that govern building surveying practices. One is RICS, or Royal Institution of Chartered Surveyors that is currently based in UK, and the other one is Royal Institution of Surveyors Malaysia or RISM that is based in Malaysia. Both these professional bodies work together hand in hand in ensuring that professional and competent building surveyors are able to be developed and ready for the industry-driven market. Let's understand further the 5 core competencies of a building surveyor. Number 1, building control administration. Number 2, maintenance of building. Number 3, building works. Number 4, development and construction management. And number 5, insurance assessment. The following slides, we will understand and explore together the detailed core competencies of each of this segment that is being highlighted. Under building control administration core competencies as a building surveyor, what we usually do is we will conduct building inspection audit for newly designed buildings to ensure that the design of the building follow the compliances and standards that have been set up by the industry. And at the same time, once the building is finished, we wanted to ensure that the quality has been delivered as what been promised to the client. On top of that, usually within building control administration also, that it involves building regulation enforcement where non-compliance building or building that did not follow the standards and specification that are being set by standard, building survey will come and inspect and conduct thorough checking to ensure that they followed the existing guidelines and standards, and if they do not follow the standard guideline, they are entitled to be penalized by the authority that governing the area. On top of what been mentioned previously, within the building control administration, a building surveyor is also the responsible parties or the expert in conducting construction works inspection, in ensuring that every work that being done throughout the construction project have complied and follow the regulated standards within the industry. Next, let's look into the maintenance of a building as part of core competencies of a building surveyor. A competent building surveyor will be able to fully understand the relevant activities involved in managing a property, facilities, maintenance and management. Both of these facilities management and maintenance involve understanding relevant activities that need to be conducted in ensuring that a building will be able to perform in its optimized condition and acceptable for the occupants to conduct their day-to-day activities. On top of that, a building surveyor also involved in bringing new life to old and dilapidated building through building refurbishment works. Within this particular segment, it involves the expert understanding of building condition through conducting building condition assessment of a particular building. Next, a building surveyor heavily involved with building works relevant to built heritage management. Old and dilapidated building is once again given new life or a new function through the work of building dilapidation survey, defect management, and measured survey drawings. With these 3 key practices under a building surveyor, a competent building surveyor will be able to provide a detailed understanding and information with regard to dilapidated and old buildings for necessary work to be conducted in bringing back the new life of a building. This also include the advice and proper planning towards getting building approval for such building from the local authorities. Let's look into the next competencies, which under the development and construction management. Construction management, or also known as project management, is a very interesting area where you will be able to understand and to explore the feasibility and capability of a land to be developed into a project. This is where you will understand where and how land is being selected, the do's and don'ts in selecting a land to be developed, the necessary procurement process, including the tendering process, where capable contractors or partners is being selected to support the development of a project. Once this particular process has been conducted and a contractor has been selected, that comes the project execution and implementation, where most of the project work is being done in this particular period of time. During this particular crucial time, a building surveyor can also be involved in project control segment, where ensuring that the project runs according to timeline basis, according to the schedule that being set, and following the quality and standards that is being required by the industry itself. And once the project is completed, it is time for the project to be handed over to the necessary client or expected parties. This is also where a building surveyor will be involved heavily, looking into the process of CCCC, the process of compliance and completion, which involve many stakeholders, authorities, approvals. On top of that, within this particular development construction management, also a building surveyor will be exposed towards understanding project and client requirements. Last but not least, building information modeling is something that is relatively new to the construction market, and I believe building surveyors should be able to equip themselves and understand how BIM works. This will become a very niche competencies under development and construction management. Last but not least, let's look into assurance assessment as part of building surveyor core competencies. A building surveyor is a critical role inside insurance assessment process, where as an expert in understanding and determining building condition, it helps insurance companies or public and private sectors in understanding building claim management, providing expert witnesses during a claim process, insurance adjuster support where we determine the valuation of a damaged building, and finally the insurance underwriting where we try and assess condition of a building before it can be insured. Now, after exploring and understanding the 5 core competencies of a building surveyor, you as a student that about to go for a practical training should ask yourself, where is the relevant area that you find the most interesting and will be the most fun learning process that you will be able to enjoy during your practical training. My advice would be try to put a focus and understand. Ask yourself where you want to learn more and to understand further, as a role of a building surveyor. Before we move forward, let's have a refresher on what we have learned so far. Please scan the QR code given or use the link in your web browser to go to the activity that have been prepared. It was a simple exercise, right? Were you able to beat the score? If yes, congratulations. If no, you can try again later. Let's move on. In assessing what we have learned so far, I have prepared a simple assessment for you to try and have fun with. Before we conclude our Mooc today, let's ask yourself this question. Imagine your day in the life as a building surveyor. I hope this video that I have presented to you will give you a motivation and proper understanding for you to imagine and for you to be able to answer the question that been asked.
Hello, I'm Ewan and I'm a building surveyor. Building surveyors have a fantastic variety of roles in the UK and also internationally, all around the core aspect of looking after buildings. Some people say that a chartered building surveyor is like a doctor to buildings, helping to create the building, look after the building, care for it and improve it throughout its life. I prefer to think that I provide solutions to buildings for people. This means that you cover a wide range of services such as the design and specification of new buildings or altering or refurbishing buildings, from the initial concept with the client all the way through to completion, cost and budgetary advice on new build, alteration and refurbishment works, project management of multidiscipline works and also administering the construction of new build, alteration and refurbishment works. Maintaining and caring for buildings by ensuring the appropriate care together with building surveys and other surveys or inspection and identifying and remedying defects. This is probably what you came across when you're purchasing a house, and of course advice on property regulatory and legal issues such as compliance, inclusive access, planning applications and building regulations compliance. I really enjoy variety, so I'm a consultant in a large practice, covering all of these services for a range of clients in the commercial, public and private sectors. Some of my friends prefer to specialise, so focus on one aspect, like building surveys for investors, or they work in-house for an organisation with a large property portfolio. The job means I get out of the office to inspect some really interesting properties. Yesterday I was surveying a retailer's HQ building, and in the last month I've surveyed historic buildings, a bank, a shopping centre and several houses. As you might guess, in my job I also meet a fair number of people as well as buildings, so clients, end users, contractors, consultants and others in buildings, on construction sites, or even when I'm in the office. My advice can make a real difference to people, influencing their decisions and helping them make the best of their property. And my future? Well, I really enjoy my work and people will always live in or use buildings, so I think my future's going to be great.
I wish you good luck in your practical training process, and until we meet again, thank you very much. Assalamualaikum.